Have you ever wondered that whenever you or anyone sits for any kind of interview and feel like, oh, I just don't know about this topic at all? Because most of the people make a very common mistake, and that is not cross questioning the topics that they learn. For an example, let's say you are learning something about, let's say, flows or let's say batch classes. So when you're learning about the batch classes, you learn that start, execute, and finish does certain kind of things. You learn about limitations, and you learn about the advantages and the other things, right? But you never cross questions. What if the start method returns only 5,000 records and executes is I did not give any kind of scope or something like that? So whenever you cross questions yourself, you will most probably find many interview questions on your own. In the similar way, I was able to find one of the interview questions that I did not know answer to. So let's move to the first question, that is, what is exactly hoisting in JavaScript? So this is the question which fascinated me and I did not know what does it means. The basic meaning of the JavaScript in the hoisting is basically in JavaScript you can declare a variable. Okay, you can use a variable. Right now if you see, I've used a variable named as x and I can declare it later on. So as you can see, I was able to use a variable that is x equals to 5 and I declared it later on, and that's allowed totally fine. Okay, that is possible inside the JavaScript. But there are two different types of the variable. Let's consider let and const. We all know about let and const. So let and const are performing the functionality of hoisting, or they are considered as hoisting variables. Basically, variables that are been defined with let and const are basically hosted at the top of the block, right? So whenever you're going to declare a variable with let, you never do let x. First of all, you declare the x and then you use it, right? For an example, you never do it vice versa, right? You never do it. Okay, and if you try to do it, you will get a reference error. Because because the basic simple terms is that the block of the code is aware of this variable. Okay, the block of the code is aware of this variable that I've declared. Okay, but it cannot be used unless and until declared. Okay, if you're using a let variable or a var variable, which are a hosting variable or hosting, this is what we call hosting in JavaScript. Basically is that if we declare a variable and it is of type let and const, if you're trying to use it before declaring it, you will get an error, but for other ones you won't get an error. So simple, in let and const you first have to declare the variable and only after that you can use that variable, and that's what we call hosting in the JavaScript. Let's move to the next question, is that what exactly is a lexical scope in JavaScript? Now again, this is a very simple concept, but because of that lexical word I was a bit confused what does it means and what does it do. So the lexical scope is basically a fundamental concept in programming that determines the accessibility of a variable. In simple terms, if you're declaring a variable outside the class or within at the top of the class, that can be considered as a global. On the other hand, if you're declaring within the scope itself, that can be considered as scope level variable. Or if you're declaring a variable within the function itself, that can be declared as a function level variable. And that is what the lexical scoping in JavaScript is. In simple terms, it defines the accessibility of the variables and the functions within the program. Now, before moving to the last question, if you feel that you're not feeling confident enough before going to any of the interview, you can connect with me one to one over the top mate link below. Let's move on to the next question, that is how to pass SObjects as a parameter to the future method. Now, as we all know, future method cannot take SObjects as a parameter. Now, this is the exact question which was asked to me in my Salesforce interview. I will post the link or I will create a video on the same as well, what was asked to me in my Salesforce interview. But this was one of the questions, that how to pass SObjects as a parameter to the future method. Now, if you know about it, we cannot pass SObjects as a parameter to the future method, right? We cannot do it. We can pass list of IDs, list of string, a string, ID. We can do all these things, but we cannot pass SObjects as a parameter. But the interviewer asked me, what if still I want to pass SObjects as a parameter no matter what? In that scenario, what will we do? Now, the most simplest answer to this was, first of all, whatever data you have, let's consider you have list of objects, list of account. Okay, ACC list, you have queried something, or let's say you have some kind of in JavaScript, let's consider you have a variable ACC list. Okay, it's having all the account. Okay, it's basically it's a type of object, variable is type of object, and it has the list of the records of the account. Okay, so in simple terms, what you can do is json.stringify that. You can convert the overall account inside the json.stringify, or basically what you can do is, you whatever data or objects you have, you can stringify it and convert it into the form of string. And then inside our future method, okay, future method, I'm going to name it as like this. Okay, here I can pass the string of the json that I have, right? Let's say I've stored it within this variable, my data, right? I'm passing my data over here. So let's say I've called the future method, okay, wherever I can call, okay, I can call it within trigger as well, but I will just stringify the records that I have. I will pass it as a parameter that would be a string, as I can pass the string, but actually this string is nothing but stringified version of your object. Now once you do it, once you get the stringified version of it, then you can use json dot deserialized untyped, and you can use this and convert it in the form of map of string comma list of, or map of string comma SObjects. You can convert it into the following better, and then you can use it further. In simple terms, you stringified the overall object that you had, and you pass it as a parameter to the future method, and as future method is capable of taking the string data, it will take it, and then you can go ahead and deserialize it untyped, and then you can convert it into the form of object, and you can use it further. So this was all about the interview questions that I had to present in this video. If you found this video helpful, I request you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel.